Okay, so in this next piece, we're going to talk a little bit more about how to actually build these templates and start populating them. So here I just have a blank file. I'll open my templates here. And as we've kind of mentioned before, if you're familiar with the older inroads, this should look fairly familiar. It hasn't changed here in this new ORD setup. So as Jordan was kind of showing, we have our template library organization over here. I have a template here I've just called test. It's blank, nothing really in there. So to start populating our points and components in here, there's a couple different ways. The first way here, I can right click and add new components. I'll add just a simple component. It'll bring in this kind of generic shape. And I can place that here. It's kind of a generic piece. You can edit this, but that's kind of the shapes. We can also add, these are constrained points. So say I want a little slope off the edge, I can place a few points here. And it's really just as simple as adding and clicking pieces. I can drop in more points to create more components. I'll cancel out of this. So this is one way we can add in like these building blocks. As you can imagine, that gets a little tedious with these big templates. So another way we can do it, and we've kind of shown a little bit, this is kind of the standard CDOT template library that we have. As we kind of mentioned, it's still getting updated with namings and stuff like that. So I wouldn't worry too much about that yet, but we have all these pieces kind of pre-built in here. So say I wanted a curb and gutter, we'll do our standard curbs, and I can bring in kind of a standard curb, and it's as simple as clicking and dragging it and dropping it right here into our templates. It transfers all of the names, the feature definitions, which we'll talk about here in a second, and we're able to really build with like these Lego blocks. As you can imagine, you can build quite a few components in here and make something fairly technical. You can keep it simple. There's other ways here we can edit these as far as points and components. Say we wanted to add a hinge point or something here we can control. You can do that by right-clicking here on the components and inserting points. This will keep it as part of the shape and gives us another point to control how we work with this template. As I kind of said, it'll populate kind of ORD's best guess at what you want it to be named or the standard names. This is where it's very helpful at this stage to go back and refer to that naming spreadsheet and keep these names straight and up to date. It'll help a lot down the line as ORD refers to these points. If they're named, right center line 2, it's tough to go back and actually figure out what you're trying to do. We can also, using the same right click, we can delete components. Say I want to get rid of this guy. So fairly simple once you kind of get the hang of it. It's a lot of building each component. I can show one more thing here. As we say I want to bring in a curb, but I would like to bring in more than just the curb. So I can, as I'm dragging it around, I can right click, and I have a couple more options here. I can mirror. So that'll bring in 2 curbs, or I can reflect and it'll switch. So this reflect is a useful command, especially as our components, as you can see in this little preview window as I go down, they're all usually only a single side. So that gives me my left curb as well. So you can see how using all of these components, we have stuff for rail, pavement sections. It really is using them like Lego blocks and building up your templates in order to get something more a full roadway section that we can run and create corridors with. The last piece I'll kind of show is the properties of these points. So if I double click on them, it'll show this box. There's a lot of information in here we'll continue to go through today, but this here is where you would change the name and the feature definition as well that we'll talk about here in a second. And you can do the same thing for components. These also are named, even though they don't necessarily show up on in your window, they are named as well. And this is really where that naming convention and that best practice of keeping things in our standard names will really help you down the line. The last little piece I'll talk about here is separate from a lot of the ORD ways. This is all saved in an ITL file that'll be separate than your DGNs. So the important piece is this does not automatically save for you. So if I'm in this template here, I've made these edits. I have to make sure if I close this, it'll ask, do I want to save? So we'll make sure we'll save and we'll update our server copy, or we'll check in this separate ITL file. If you don't do that, you'll lose anything you've created in here. So we can update our server copy. Now those changes have been made. So Sahar, you can go ahead and finish this one.